Welcome back, folks, to another exciting episode of the World Blacksmith Championships up at Spruce Meadows in Calgary, Canada. In this week's episode, we're going to be featuring the French Hind Day, where competitors had to build a French Hind with Massillais quarter clips to go onto a foot, and then build a specimen shoe that was a toe-weighted Morgan front shoe. In this video, you're going to see, guys, you have an hour-long class where you have to shoe a hind foot with a French Hind shoe, fit it up, get it nailed on, and also build that Morgan front shoe. It's a grueling class, and a lot of preparation and work went into it. And this is where 66 competitors from across the world, including 16 different countries, got together to compete to become a new world champion blacksmith. So grab yourself a nice cold refreshment, sit down, relax, enjoy the show, and I hope you guys learned something new about what we got going on here in this episode.
All right, on Friday, we have square-toed Massillais hind foot on the horse and the Morgan shoe as a specimen. So do we have any questions about that? I think that we've talked about it. In the program, I wanted some starting part, and I didn't want people to think that they could just put that toe wherever they wanted to, because you could just make the prettiest shaped toe and then slide it back to wherever you wanted. So I said, realistically, a quarter of the hoof wall, and I think that the judges both agree that they want to have the hoof wall. They don't want to see any white line or sole. You definitely want to have it touching the hoof wall. And in the toe. If you come way underneath, then they're going to go off in the corner and have one of those discussions on whether to disqualify you or not. If you come underneath the foot that far. Yeah, they probably won't let you put it on. So to answer your question, that's going to come on how much you feel like you can enhance the foot or not. Then after, what we will be doing, and I haven't mentioned this yet, someone will be marking the feet. They're going to mark the feet. After the hoof prep, mark the feet, and then that has to stay on there until after your shoe fit. Then you can do whatever you want. You want to clean that up, but they would just want to have the toe of the shoe rounded up in your clinching, just to make it safe. You don't want to have a square, sharp corner.
5, 4, 3, 2, begin. The most factor in getting dual languages on all the packaging of cigarettes in Canada. Most people don't know the warning labels, and Renee thought it was important for people to know the consequences of smoking in French while inhaling carbon out of the forge. It just made perfect sense of how it all came together, and a dream that we are all looking for is just simply going to happen and come to fruition. Right?
So now we're into the goes. I was actually in the first go of the day, and it was kind of crazy. I got pretty lucky in the sense of the horse I drew. This guy's name was Tony the Pony, or his nickname, and his real name was Coconut. And the rest of the horses, as you'll see in the rest of this class, they were big old draft, cobby, gypsy vanner looking horses. So here I am just trimming up my foot, getting things kind of squared away. He didn't have a ton of foot there, but there was enough to trim it up. And then now just time to start headed to the anvil for the first time. I had Troy Wood striking for me, and I actually cut a little bit small piece of steel. It was 10 1/4 inches of 3/8 3/4 for my French Hind. So now I'm going to start bumping up my toe, try to get some mass in there, because the opposite, if you use 3/8 by 1, you'd be drawing that material away instead of bumping it up. So I just had a little bit of a different approach to it, as I normally would have been if it would have been 3/8 by 1. And here's one of those big old cobby gypsy vanner horses. And this is Matt Argo. He is from England, and he's starting off with the top dress on his foot, just kind of getting it nice and clean. So with the shoeing classes at the Blacksmith World Championships, there was no sanding systems allowed on the foot. So meaning you had to be very intentional with your rasp, and to be sure that you didn't leave any rasp marks in the foot. But it also was a telltale sign on, if you touched it, you own it, in the sense of you have to be very intentional with where you put that rasp. So Matt's just trying to get a nice clean look on his foot, and there's not a ton of distortion in that, so you can kind of, start at the top, work to the bottom. So he's just trying to get up in there and get rid of any of the distortion from the top side before he starts going down to the bottom and starts trimming it up. So now we're coming around and Matt's putting a file on his foot, trying to make sure he gets it nice and flat. That's a big thing that the judges wanted at this contest, was show intention and be deliberate. And they wanted to see nice flat feet, not overly done. This is actually George Hayter, and he is from England as well. And this was his second time competing at the Blacksmith World Championships. And he's sighting his foot there, trying to make sure it's as flat as possible. You can see on the lateral side there wasn't much quarter where it had been chipped off, so it's a hard foot to get flat. This is Toby Pedley striking for Matt Argo, and he's his striker, and he's checking out his foot, sighting it, and then he'll go back and tell Matt, like, hey, you're high here, you're low here, take this off. So that's kind of a big benefit. This is Ian Ritchie. He is from Canada, originally from Scotland, and his foot is actually pretty short in the sense of, like, there's not a ton of distortion or length to come off. So here he's just using his loop knife, and he's just cleaning up the back half of that frog. And it's kind of surprising. You'll see here in a second, I don't really see very many people knife out sole with a loop knife. Like, I've always known people to use a loop knife for frog work. So it's kind of cool and interesting to see Ian use a loop knife to cut out sole. Now he's just trying to define the bars up and enhance that foot. You know, he's not trying to weaken it in any way possible. So here is Sergio Perez, and he was from Spain. So he's using his ruler there to get a measurement on how wide that toe, that square toe, is going to be on the shoe. So he's just measuring it up so that way he knows he can get a good measurement. And this is Chris Madrid. He's an 8-time national champion for the World Championship Blacksmiths in the United States. And he's got a really, really hard foot here. Like, look at all that foot that's missing on that lateral side. Like, it was busted up. Like, this would have been a nightmare for me if I would have drew this foot. Like, I would have been sweating. But he freaking killed it. He nailed it out of the park. I think he placed in the top 5 with this shoeing job. And so he's just being as deliberate as possible by not getting in, taking off too much, and just taking off what needs to come off. So he's just trying to put some shape in there. It's the beginning of the class, only 8 minutes in. It's a good spot to be. Just putting the final touches on, getting that foot flat, and put some nice shape into it. And that's going to be a hard one because there's not really a whole lot of nice shape to that foot. So this here is Stephen Bean. He's a 5-time world champion. So he has, climbed that top of that mountain 5 times here in Calgary in previous years. So he actually had the opposite foot that Chris Madrid just trimmed up, and both those hind feet were pretty wretched. And I think Stephen Bean might have won this class. So he did a damn good job in the French Hind Day. And here he's just trying to gather up as much foot that he possibly can. And then this is actually Mick Saunders. He's one of the judges, and now they're coming in to judge. This was back from when my go was, and he's judging my trim. And he's just kind of sighting it first, trying to make sure I didn't overdo it. And I was hoping to kind of get a good reaction out of him in the film here, being like, oh, god dang, that's not very good. But it turned out to be okay. They didn't hate it too much, so just tried to do the best I could. And here's Ian Ritchie, same thing. He's trying to get a measurement on how wide that square toe should be. Something I've heard people say is you live and you die by the ruler. So here Ian's trying to get the right measurements down and the right marks down so that he can set up his shoe properly and not, have the square toe be too wide or too narrow. And that way it can just be easily made and put on, save you time down the road.
Day of competition for the World Championship. We've got James Jenkins.
The way that I set this video up, it's going to take you through the process of guys throughout the goes. So it's going to start off by trimming, and then it's going to go into different stages of the shoemaking. So now that I've got basically my shoe, bumped up, got the toes established, now I'm turning the branch. And that's just kind of how this video is going to flow together. And then it'll go from shoemaking into fitting up, guys burning on, and then nailing up, clinching, and then class will be done. And then you guys hopefully will enjoy this video and stay around for the next one. So here you can see this is the beginning of the round 2 with Matt Argo right there, and now he's bumping up his toe for his French Hind, and I believe that's 1.25 inch by 3/8 thick steel. So that was a big puppy to be drawn, and I'm so glad that I didn't get one of those cob horses. So here he's just putting a little bit of mass in the toe, so that way it doesn't just tear away when he turns the toe, and there's meat and mass to it that you can forge away from.
After 4, yeah, it just comes like that. I see you looking at the numbers. Can't have a good contest unless you got good judges, and we got 2 of the best. We got Michael Kukkonen from Denmark. Michael and Mick met each other in prison. They're both out on work release.
So we step back here to Matt Argo's go again. Now he's going to start by turning the toe. You can see how it's a little bit wider right there where he bumped up that material. So that way there's some material there in the steel. So that way when he forges the toe, that it's just not going to be scant and nothing there. So you're trying to put mass in there so that way it doesn't look too weak and skinny. And then you'll also see once he gets that toe squared up on the top, there's going to be 2 little points, and those are what's going to be the massillé quarter clips. So now he's going to come in, he's just isolating where he wants the top of that quarter clip to start. So he's just digging in a little bit. Now he's going to go right behind it. Now he's started off 1 clip. Now he's going to go, and he's going to start a 2nd clip on the opposite branch. Just starting off, digging in. That's the hardest part with that shoe, is just making sure you get those clips in the right spot and the end of that toe, not too wide or too narrow. Got to be very precise. Now Toby's just going to flatten that material out for him, save you a little oomph on the hammer, so you have some muscle for the rest of the class.
6 or 7 times, and then they compete 1 time. They're from all corners of the world. That was a punt for Flatlander.
So now we're back to the 5-time world champ, Stephen Bean. And that's one cool thing about going to a competition, is that you're either going to see, guys at the similar skill level that you're at, or you can watch the best in the world, have a go at it right in front of you. So like that's, one of the best things you can ever do for yourself, is just to surround yourself with guys or females that, have a passion for the same thing you have. And that's what's going to take you to the top, and what's going to make you see greatness is being around it. So sign up, go to a contest. You'll be amazed by how many people will jump to help you if you have the ambition and the questions to do it. I thought this was cool how Steven attacked the toe. I've never necessarily grabbed it right there to push to the corners of the toe and keep that up. So that's one of the cool things you can see just by attending and watching a contest. Now this was a pretty slick move that I saw Chris Madrid do. He used a set of calipers there, and he just calipered from a center dot, and that's where he's going to start the end of his square toe and basically cut out or forge out where the tops of the massillé clips are going to go. Pretty cool trick. Now when we watch Jesper Eriksson here do his square toe French hind, this is going to be the slickest one that I saw all day throughout the competition. He gets it roughed out. Wait till you see what he does next. Takes a straight blade fuller and basically cuts a line all the way across where the square toe is going to be, cuts it all the way down in there, and holy cow, this blew my mind. And it's like, why couldn't I ever think of something like that? It's so simple once you see it done. It's like, god dang, that's slick. Then he comes in with a fuller that's basically turned backwards and uses like the half moon side facing towards him, and then he cuts out material there that's going to go basically in front of the Masolite clips, and that's going to be cut out as well. And he does that on both sides, and it's like, holy Toledo. It's pretty damn slick. Now that he's basically got him cut all the way down to depth, just knock away that material. Bada bing, bada boom. That's super simple. That's like a fresh square toe. Then basically now when you got your square toe roughed in and kind of where your Masolite clips are going to go, now's when you need to run out your branches and forge them to length, because the material that you're starting out with, like in this case, it's 1.25 wide steel on that foot's going to be way too wide and chunky for that foot. So you got to run it up a little bit, so you're using that wide material so you can get a lot of mass in the toe and not necessarily have to bump a ton to make it appropriate. So now you're going to have to run that out, so you're actually cutting less amount of steel that it's going to take to cover that foot, and you're drawing out the branches, so then it'll be more of an appropriate section, which will then, you know, look good on the foot and not hinder it in any way. So it's enhancing the toe, enhancing his Masolite clips, cleaning up the lines on the branch. Then he's going to have Toby, his striker, come in and he's going to flatter it out. And then he'll be ready to put a heel on, turn the branch, fuller it, finish clipping it. Bam. Now we're going to come back to Jesper Eriksson where he had cut out the material. You can see he's just forging right behind where he had cut that out in the front half, and that's where the clip's going to be. And it's like, holy cow, it's so simple and just straight and to the point. Just takes out a lot of the guessing, I would say. So you just have to make sure you know how much to cut, and then you're just cutting away some material, and all the elements are right there, standing right in front of you. Going back to Stephen Bean here, this is something you don't see every day either, where you grab it at the heel and forge on the backside of that clip, versus if you were holding it this way and always pulling to it, you usually get like a flat spot right in the inside rim on right behind my clips, and I bet that's a good way to get rid of it. Things you would see just by going to a contest and seeing somebody like Stephen do it. He knows how to get it done. A lot of years of experience and hard work. we're back here at Jesper Eriksson. You can just see how simple and crisp that square toe is, and how defined the Massillate clips are. This is another pretty slick move that I noticed him do. He just takes a set of calipers, and he's got it set up, scribe along where the square toe is. That's where the beginning of the full run is going to start for both sides. It's just going to be there versus having to whip out a T-square, pencil. Saves you a lot of time and just messing around at that point.
The same amount of time as you cool down the steel and you work on it. That's what we call getting into a rhythm. They're going to make a shoe that looks like everybody else's shoe, and now it's called a specimen shoe. They've had these shoes for a half a year now, and they're trying to make a Morgan shoe. It's a toe-weighted shoe. It's meant to go on a foot that has a pad and a package. Those shoes will all be judged against the specimen shoe. They get no style points for that. They want to make that shoe look identical to where the judge actually thinks that they made it. All right, we got 12 minutes. 12 minutes.
So we'll go back here to Matt Argo, and he's going back to his foot for a burn. And this is another thing you don't factor into like a individual contest when you get a big horse like this. Like sometimes they're big and heavy, and it just, him having to grab that foot like that, it just takes a little bit more energy out of you. And little things like that, where that's why I was glad I didn't draw one of those big ass horses like that. Very happy. Now he's just burning in, make sure the shoe fits correctly and where he wants it, not too long, not too short. Making sure he's covered the foot. You're trying to make sure you're not tight, which means like you're underneath the foot. You're not too full, which is outside of the foot with the shoe either. Now that he's back at the anvil with his shoe, you can see the black marks on that shoe, and that's where that foot is in correlation to where the shoe is. So that's how you can see how it fits. So you can kind of see he tried knocking that one heel in just to make it wrap in because he was slightly outside of center. Now he's just checking to make sure it's flat. Here's Jesper Eriksson going in for his burn, and this is the unique shoe that I saw on the day, and you can see it's a pretty dang nice French Hind. And he ended up placing really well throughout the contest. I believe he was in the top 10, made the top 10 shoeing, so he was no slouch. Here's Ian Ritchie going in for a burn, and remember that foot wasn't very long and it was pretty short to begin with, so he's trying not to just burn it way too much. He's just going in for quick little burns. You can see there's not even contact in the quarters there because it was gutted out there to begin with, so quick short burns for Ian. This was that gnarly foot that Chris Madrid drew. You can see Bodie coming in. He's got a pencil, and he's marking a line right there because he wasn't quite sure where he wanted to put nails at because there was a big crack on that inside of that foot there. So he had Bodie come in with a pencil there, and he just marking a line where he wants to nail. He's only got the toenail punched right now on that medial side. So he's just trying to be accurate with where that heel nail and second nail is going to go. Pretty cool trick. Now that he's done burning, we'll go around. I'll show you there. See that big crack in the foot there? There was one on the medial side as well, so that's why he was going in with the pencil to make sure he got the nails in the right spot.
Is the shoe that's going to go on the foot, and it's what they call side foot for quarter. On Monday morning and have the exact same problems as all the other farriers in the world that have problems with their horses when they go home. It's just, these people, when you're by yourself and you're isolated, you are the best farrier on the face of the planet. And then when you get around your peers, you soon begin to understand what you do and you do not know.
Came back all of a sudden. Cool. Right on.
Kind of like I stated in the omnidirectional video, this is the Swiss team, and they do things a little bit different than we do in the United States. It's pretty crazy and just different for us to see, where they have somebody holding the foot for you and you're nailing it up. It's such a interesting concept, and I don't know if I'd even be comfortable doing something like that, like nailing the shoe on outside of holding on the leg, because I've done it the opposite way for so long, basically my whole career. So it'd be so foreign to me to try to do it that way. We're back with the 5-time world champ Stephen Bean. This took some guts. He took off his apron pretty early in the round just so it could probably feel lighter in the go. He's nailing up, no apron, just in jeans. This wasn't an easy horse either to nail up. It kind of pulled back. Yeah, like holy cow. Seems just so sketchy to be nailing up without an apron, especially a horse like that. But kudos to him. Took some guts. This here is Mr. Paul O'Reilly nailing up. He's originally from Ireland, who is now living in the States, in Florida, shoeing some of the most top level horses that going to the Olympics, competing here at the Spruce Meadows Masters. Like, he does a lot of top level horses. Here he is competing out on the main stage. And then they're back to the first round of the day, where I had to nail up my tiny little pony shoe on Tony the Pony. And he's 26 years old, I believe, and when your horses get that old, they got stiff joints, stifles, and you could tell like he wasn't a huge fan of the tapping of the nails, and he was trying to pull back, but thankfully he's small enough. I was able to kind of put my tiny little muscles to work, pull them back, and get them nailed up. But I kind of fought. My my creasing on my lateral side wasn't very good. I was kind of punched a little bit fine in it, so I struggled with nailing up, trying to get nails up there good. So, but yeah.
In the Olympics, any kind of judging in the Olympics, what they do is they throw out the top score and the bottom score so that the judge actually wants to have their score be counted. So people are more apt, like say, if you have the Chinese diving and you have a Chinese judge, the Chinese judge is going to try and get the best possible score because they want their score to count. They don't want to be thrown out on the high side or the bottom side.
This is always the crunch time of a class. So basically you can see George there to the left. They called out 2 minutes left, and the judge was still judging his shoe. So now he's got to get that shoe nailed up. Maybe it was 3 minutes that he said, but he's got to get the shoe nailed up in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then he's got to get clinched up all in that same time too. So same with this guy in the middle. He's from Belgium, I believe. And then we got Matt Argo on the right. We've been following him along throughout the day. Then this is Sergio Perez from Spain, and the method in which he's clinching is called hammer clinching. So instead of kind of the way that we do it now is with instead of clinchers, he's using basically something to hold to the bottom of the nail, and then he's using his hammer to curl over the end of the nail and then create the clinch, and then it's hammered back into the hoof wall. So that's the traditional way of clinching and how it is done since the days of horseshoeing began, and usually that is the strongest way in which you want to get your clinch. And kind of what was talked about in the judges meeting, they didn't want to see sharp corners coming out from the square toe itself, and a little bit of toe is essentially going to stick out past the front of it because you're coming back a quarter of the hoof wall. So now he's just trying to rasp up his clinches, make them smooth, and just get a nice finish going on. So now we're back with the Belgium competitor and George Hayter. And this is the last minute and a half they're calling out, so he's still got to get nails nipped off there for him. And then he's gouging, and he's going to pull it over. And this is basically kind of what I was alluding to with the way we clinch horses now is with a set of clinchers, where George is using a set of clinchers where it's going to drag the nail down and sit into the pocket and basically create the clinch. So 30 seconds left. And here's the rest of my go, and this is basically kind of what wraps up the rest of the day, is just a bunch of shoe and goes like this. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm just going to show you a bunch of pictures that I took of finished jobs, and that'll about wrap it up for the day.